From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and Ciso, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang, and welcome to the CyberHub Podcast, Thursday, May 8th, 2025. My name is James Azar. I'm your podcast host and a Chief Information Security Officer. Thank you all for tuning in this morning. We've got a packed show for all of y'all today. A lot to talk about, including South African Airways going through a cyber attack, a whole bunch of vulnerabilities, and some new frameworks coming out of the UK. We'll get into all of that on today's show, so stay tuned, buckle up, get ready. Here we go. Before we do that, in order to power through these cyber news, I've made myself a delicious, amazing double espresso. And it's in this beautiful handcrafted mug. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. Let me know what you're drinking in the comments. I'd love to know what is your morning beverage and why. Like, I'm curious to the why. Like, I know why I drink espressos, but I'm curious to know why your why. What your morning go-to is and why. Like, genuinely curious. So even if you're listening after the fact, go to cyberhubpodcast.com, go to today's episode, and comment below. I want to know. All right, so South African Airways says a cyber attack disrupted operation system. South Africa's Airways is a state-owned airline. It said the cyber attack on Saturday disrupted its website and several internal operations. They said the attack also affected its mobile application, noted that the IT team was able to contain the incident and minimize disruption to its core flight operations. They also ensured the continued functionality of essential customer service channels like the airline's contact centers and sales offices. Normal system functionality across all affected platforms was restored later the same day. The airline didn't respond whether or not this was a ransomware attack or a different type of attack, although these primarily are ransomware attacks, but again, that doesn't say that's the only thing there. CEO John Lamola said that they're currently investigating the incident to determine the root cause and are looking into the potential leak of any sort of sensitive information. The airline reported more than $300 million in revenue last year and services flights to 16 different locations. No known criminal group has taken responsibility for the action there. So a few things on this from what I've read, kind of in between the lines beyond this story. One, they had a really good incident response plan. They had great network segmentation. They had things divided. They were ready to go at a moment's notice, and they were. I mean, the disruption didn't even last a full day. Essentially, they started Saturday morning, and by Saturday evening, they were back up online and running. So that just tells you planning for it, segmenting, and understanding your threat landscape and how attackers are going to go about your environment is critical. South African Airways got that right here. So we'll see if any information was compromised there. Obviously, that's not forthcoming as of yet. This only happened on Saturday. We're Thursday, 5 days in. They'll probably know more in the next month or two, and we'll keep you appraised to that situation. A California-based health technology and consumer electronics company by the name of Masimo Corporation has been targeted in a cyber attack that impacted its manufacturing facility. In a filing with the SEC, it said it detected unauthorized access on its network on April 27th. In response to the incident, Masimo did isolate the affected systems and implemented other containment measures. They've also engaged third-party experts. As a result of the incident, certain of the company's manufacturing facilities have been operating at less than normal levels, and the company's ability to process, fulfill, and ship customer orders timely has been temporarily impacted. That's the material impact that they have to report to the SEC. So the SEC doesn't require to report a breach. It requires it to report a breach and a material impact of the breach. So the company has been working diligently to bring affected portions to the network back online. So here's where this happens. Unlike in energy and other environments where OT is very isolated and IT is isolated, and so you'd have your OT network and it's segmented, and there's a potential VPN tunnel, or you'd use some sort of data diode or anything like that for singular communication, trusted communication. In manufacturing, that's not the case. And the reason for it is because your ERP system, your inventory system, your payment system are all integrated in your manufacturing equipment. So there's an IT OT convergence that exists in manufacturing that is not that doesn't exist in energy or oil and gas and other kind of OT based networks like airlines. Airlines have a ton of OT and a ton of IT. And as you saw with South African Airways just a moment ago, there was a separation there. Manufacturing is where that convergence does happen. And that's simply for cost tracking, for inventory tracking, for everything else. The ERP system is really integrated in between the various manufacturing processes. And so that's where threat actors are extremely successful. And that's where there's a gap currently between what's available in the market, simply because different manufacturing products communicate in different protocols. So sometimes it's all TCP/IP, but some manufacturers have their own protocol, their own communication protocol that they use. And so the ability to integrate different solutions to defend those devices doesn't always exist. That might be the story here. So last December, we talked about Powerschool, and now there's a warning coming from the company about the attackers behind the December cyber attack trying to individually extort different school districts, threatening to release the previously stolen student and teacher data if a ransom is not paid. Powerschool is now being made aware that threat actors have reached out to multiple school district customers in an attempt to extort them using data from the previously reported December 2024 incident. They don't believe this is a new incident, as samples of the data matched the previously stolen in December. They've reported this matter to law enforcement both in the US and in Canada and are working closely with our customers to support them. The company also recommended that students and faculty take advantage of the free 2-year of credit monitoring and identity protection to protect against fraud and identity theft. So, again, we're going to get brass tacks here real quick, right? Whenever there's a supply chain incident, the greatest risk for the company that is part of the supply chain, that's the reason for the breach, is the threat actors potentially escalating the ransom down to their customers, which adds a layer of complexity because now that cost is also associated downstream. It has huge reputational risks. Huge. That's the issue here with Powerschool. That's exactly what happened here. And now, because cybercrime is decentralized, this doesn't have to be the group that negotiated the ransomware. This could be one of the affiliates that was shortchanged, now trying to revive it and make some more money from it by going after individual school districts. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm saying that's a scenario. So I just want to be very clear about that. Let's get into some patches here, with Cisco announcing yesterday 35 patches for 35 different vulnerabilities, including 26 as part of its semi-annual iOS and iOS XE Security Advisory Bundle publication. The iOS update fixes 1 critical severity and 16 high-severity bugs. The critical issue is CVE 2025-20188. It's got a perfect 10 on the CVSS scale, and it's described as an arbitrary file upload flaw in an out-of-bound access point image download feature of the iOS XE software. A hard-coded JSON web token allows attackers to upload files by sending crafted HTTP requests to the AP image download interface. So you want to make sure you get your Cisco's systems patched up. SonicWall is also urging customers again to patch 3 security vulnerabilities affecting its secure mobile access appliances. One of them is being tagged that is exploited in attacks. We talked about this on Monday. Rapid7 discovered and reported this by researcher Ryan Emmons. The 3 security flaws, CVEs 2025-32819, 32820, and 32821, can be chained by attackers to gain remote code execution as root and compromise vulnerable instances. This does impact SMA 200, 210, 400, 410, and 500V, and it's patched in firmware 10.2.1.15-81 SAM Victor and higher. So you want to make sure you get your Sonic walls patched up. In other news yesterday, the industry was hit when CrowdStrike announced that it will be cutting 500 jobs or 5% of its global workforce as part of a plan to scale its business and meet a goal of $10 billion in annual recurring revenue, according to a regulatory filing. In a memo attached to the SEC filing, CEO George Kurtz told employees that the company would continue to prudently hire in customer-facing and product engineering roles, but had to make changes in order to operate more efficiently and continue the leadership. Ready for this one? We're operating in a market and technology inflection point with AI reshaping every industries, accelerating threats, and evolving customer needs. To lead at scale with nearly 10,000 CrowdStrikers, a clear path to 10 billion ARR, we are evolving how we operate. Kurtz also cited 3 factors in the decision. AI investment are accelerating execution and efficiency. They're flattening the company's hiring curve. Market demand is driving sustained growth at the company, and the company is scaling its go-to market and customer success teams as more customers are standardizing on the Falcon platform. And that's part of how they're trying to catch up with Palo Alto, which is really going after CrowdStrike. They're offering a whole bunch of incentives for people to switch from CrowdStrike to Palo Alto. Palo Alto just launched a whole bunch of AppSec tools. And so we're seeing the giants start to really tighten ship here. And that's led to the loss of 500 jobs over at CrowdStrike. And that's, again, part of market growth. Google is noting that a Russian state-sponsored APT group known as Start Blizzard has been using the click fix technique to distribute new information stealer malware. According to Google, these guys are Start Blizzard. There's 500 names to these threat actors. We're going to call them Start Blizzard. They're publicly linked to the FSB and by the U.S. in December of 2023. They've had over 100 domains the APT used for spear phishing were being seized. They've known for targeting academic organizations, NATO governments, NGOs, and think tanks for intelligence collections, mainly from email accounts. The actor would also deliver malware and attempt to access system files only in selected cases. The recent campaign says, Google says, targets current and former advisors to Western governments and militaries, as well as journalists, think tanks, and NGOs. An attack observed in January, March, and April of this year, Star Blizzard delivered a new malware family named Lost Keys as part of a multi-step infection chain that begins with a lure webpage containing a fake CAPTCHA and employing the known click fix technique to execute malicious code. The click fix technique it was initially observed back in October of 2023. We talked about it here on the show a ton since then. It's now been spiking as even nation states use this technique in order to gain an advantage. The Lockbit ransomware gang suffered a data breach of its own after its dark web affiliate panels were defaced and replaced with a message linking to a MySQL database dump. All of the ransomware's admin panels now state, "Don't do crime. Crime is bad." Hugs and kisses, XOXO from Prague. With a link to download the panel DB dump .zip. It was first spotted by a threat actor, Ray. The archive contains an SQL file dump from the site affiliated panel's MySQL database. From analysis by Bleeping Computer, this database contains 20 tables with some interesting than others, including a BTC address table that contains nearly 60,000 unique Bitcoin addresses. Builds tables contain the individual bills created by affiliates for attacks. Tables row that contain the public keys but no private keys, unfortunately. The targeted companies' names were also listed for some of the builds. A build configuration table contains the different configuration used for each build, such as which ESXi servers to skip or files to encrypt. And a chats table is very interesting as it contains 4,442 negotiation messages between the ransomware operation and victims between December 19th to April 29th. And even a users table with listing 75 admins and affiliates who had access to the affiliate panel, with Michael Gillespie spotting the passwords were stored in plain text. Example, Weekend Lover 69, Moving Bricks 69 420, and Lovebit Prude 23, Lockbit Proud. Sorry, I don't know what is going on with me today. Lockbit Proud 231. In a talks conversation with Ray, the Lockbit operator known as Lockbit Support confirmed the breach, stating no private keys were leaked or data were lost. They're going to report this to the SEC. Is this material breach to Lockbit? All right, there's that there, folks. Good times to be had. The UK government on Wednesday is moving to codify secure by default expectations for software makers with the rollout of a voluntary software security code of practice that sets a market baseline for how vendors build, ship, and maintain business software. The framework was co-authored by the National Cybersecurity Center and the Department of Science, Innovation, and Technology. It lays down 14 baseline principles covering everything from secure design and build environment hardening to security patch cadence and vendor to customer transparency. The initiative tackles what the NCSC calls a structural market failure where core safeguards like MFA still ship as premium add-ons, and small development teams often lack both the budget and expertise to bake security into default settings. So all in all, this is now becoming there. And by the way, I downloaded they have a checklist. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you want that, it'll be available on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. UK spies are seeing direct connection between some Russian cyber attacks and some physical sabotage plots, saying that the direct connection is eerie. Malign actors in Moscow are waging acts of sabotage, often using criminal proxies in their plots. So the Russian cyber attacks are essentially then sold downstream, right, to criminal gangs within England to go and actually do something about it. And so that's kind of the way this develops. And again, with the world of the internet and with global gangs, that's no surprise there. Horn said that both the NCSC and the domestic security services like MI5 were seeing that hacking threats from Russia manifesting on the streets of the UK against our industries and our businesses, putting lives, critical services, and even national security at risk. He told the Cyber UK audience that the role of the information security community was therefore not just about protecting systems, it's about protecting our people, economy, society from harm. The warning follows a series of suspected Russian-directed sabotage incidents across Europe. Security agencies and governments across the continent warned last year about these threats, while NATO and the EU both condemned intensifying Russian sabotage and hybrid operations. Words mean nothing to Putin. Putin understands actions. If Europe deploys actions, there's something to be said there. The longer you don't do that, the worse it is. You can condemn Russia all you want. Putin laughs at your condemnation because that's the kind of person he is. British police did announce the arrest of a Romanian man suspected of assisting Russia's military intelligence agency in a plot that involved an incendiary device detonating at a DHL logistic warehouse in Birmingham. So again, trying to impact overall economy. All right. All of that. Russia's believed to have been behind the July 2024 blaze that also affected the DHL logistics chain in Leipzig, Germany. If that parcel bomb found for the UK had detonated aboard a flight, it could have caused the plane to crash, according to German security services. Again, all of this stuff coming to fruition. Cyber, from kinetic to physical, happens all the time. What we see on the battlefield, what we see these nation states do, they leverage gangs. That's why national security and cybersecurity are one of the same. And whatever you see in cyberspace can't be ignored like you would in the physical. And those two intersect. Russia understands that well, and they're trying to bring that into fruition in Europe. That's it for our show today. We'll be back on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.